Hey guys, in this video we're going to take a look at a couple of interesting products. Since 12-volt fridges and portable power stations are commonly used together, I thought it'd make sense to review this new JP40 Pro fridge freezer combo from ICECO, along with this mid-range Bluetti EB55 power station. Now, I have actually done a full review a few months ago on the Bluetti EB55, so in this video I won't be doing my usual deep dive into the EB55 specs, but if you want to see that, I'll put a link up to that video in the description below for you if you want to check it out. So instead, I'll be going a bit more into the kinds of things that you can actually run with this power station and how long you can run them. And then of course, I'll be going into quite a bit more detail on the JP40 Pro since I have not reviewed that before. And if you're not aware, ICECO has been in their fridge freezer business since 2005. And they use the ICECO compressors in all of their fridge products, which is pretty much the accepted gold standard in the refrigerator compressor business. So as the JP40 Pro model name might suggest, this is a 40-liter or 42-quart single-zone fridge that can run as either a fridge or a freezer, just not both at the same time. It's got built-in rear wheels down there on the other side, and it's got a lift-up handle over here on this side for easy ground transportation if you've got it loaded up and you don't want to try to sort of manhandle it with these guys here. And it's also capable of operating at up to a 40-degree incline from level, which is pretty impressive because that makes it actually usable in fairly extreme off-road types of conditions. So ICECO warranties the compressor on this fridge for a full 5 years and the rest of the fridge components for a full 1 year. And then they have a pretty generous 30-day money-back guarantee on the thing if you first buy it and just realize it's not for you. All right, let's jump in and see what this new JP40 Pro from ICECO is all about and how long you can actually run it with something like the EB55 power station. And I somehow managed to lose the starting clip on this first runtime test. So I'll go ahead and cut to the clip that kind of shows you how it all turned out and maybe save you a bit of time in the process. All right, the refrigerator, as you can see, is still running. And if we look at the display here on the EB55, we are basically out of power. So I can't tell exactly when it's going to shut off, but it has been 58 hours. So 2.5 days. It's almost made it to 60 hours. I don't think we're going to get another 2 hours out of this just because of the state of charge. I could be wrong about that. But so we've had the target temperature on this at about I think 39 degrees as it shows, and it's been running here in this ambient temperature of about 68 degrees and fully loaded up as you saw. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and pull power, and I'm going to note what the interior temperature is, and then we're going to check back in every couple hours and find out how well this thing will hold its internal temperature when the compressor is turned off. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, let's take a look inside. Put that on the cans. It's currently reading 45.9. And it is almost exactly 8 o'clock in the morning. So we'll check back in a couple hours. All right, it's actually been about 2.5 hours. I'll let time get away from me just a little bit. Let's check and see. We're reading 46.6 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, let's close that back up and we'll check it in another couple hours. All right, it has been 4 hours. Let's check and see. We're up to 47.3 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, it has been pretty much exactly 12 hours since I pulled the power. And when we pulled the power at 8 a.m. this morning, it was 45.9 degrees Fahrenheit. So let's see what we got now. We are still at 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty incredible. We've only risen a little over 4 degrees. So this JP40 Pro must be extremely well insulated for this thing to only have risen like 4.1 degrees in 12 hours with no power. That's really good performance. I want to point out something unique about this fridge. So if you look at, you see that little, next to the max, you see the little red icon there? That's basically telling you that this UV function is on. So when this is turned on, and it is by default, you can disable it if you want. The UV will always, whenever you close the lid or power the fridge on, it will turn on an interior UV light which cuts down on bacteria and other pathogens, and it runs that for several minutes. I forget exactly how long it runs, but I'll have to pop that up here on the screen for you so I can be precise. But I think it's very cool that it has this option. And you can see here, to disable that, you basically simultaneously press the settings button and the power button. And you can see that goes back out. And you can force it back on just by turning it on. All right, let's see if we can catch these little UV lights in action here. They're gonna go out right after I open this, but you can see them for just a second. Right back there, and they just went out. All right, one of the reasons that I'm so impressed at the insulation performance or temperature retention in this ICECO JP40 Pro is that this refrigerator actually comes with that accessory, and it's apparently included with the refrigerator. So they normally sell these for somewhere around $100. This is a really, really nice ripstop nylon, very heavy duty, heavily insulated. You can see it's got that Reflectix on the inside, and it's got you know, cable pouches and stuff like that. It's just, you know, just really well made. And I wasn't even using this. That's why I'm so stunned that I got the performance that I did, and I hadn't even put that on. So I can only imagine how well it would do if I had enclosed it in this insulating jacket. But if we take a look at the inside, one thing I want to point out here, a couple things. First of all, notice the handles on either side. So they're kind of hinged, you can pull the handle up and remove the lid entirely. Or you just drop it into place and lock it down, and then you can open it from either end. You don't have to reverse the lid or do anything weird, but it just works. So in fact, I don't think there's any point in doing this, but I think you can just turn this around. Yeah, so it works both ways. Not that that makes any difference whatsoever. But one of the things I wanted to point out, on the inside is, notice that this is aluminum all around the inside shell. So instead of it being this white plastic material all over the inside, if you've ever had other coolers that have this white vinyl material on the inside, which is much more typical, they tend to get a lot of like food odors. They just smell a little funky very easily. And these aluminum shells actually help prevent that, along with that little UV light that I showed you. So very cool. That's one thing that's always annoyed me about these little coolers and refrigerators, is that they tend to smell a little funky. In fact, I always store them with the lid kind of cracked open so that they can just sort of breathe, because I'm trying to avoid that little odor problem. But man, yeah, this one doesn't seem to have it at all. So very neat design. I think the ICECO folks did a really intelligent job at engineering this product. All right, let's take a look inside here and see what you can fit. So obviously, gallon jug is no problem. You still have a fair amount of space up to the top of this little ledge here. This is a kind of a standard 750 milliliter bottle of wine. Definitely gives you enough space there. It's about, say, 3/4 of an inch just shy of the little ledge that the lid sits on. And then this little section off to the side here, you could put about 9 12-inch or 12-ounce cans there. I don't think I got 7. And then have a little bit of space left over on this side. So it is tall enough to put cans over here if you wanted to. Now in terms of over here, let's just take a look at that. So I think you can stack cans. Let's see, there's 1, 2, so 3 is going to be too high. So you can stack cans too high and still have a good solid like 4 or 5 inches here on top of the cans. And then get that gallon jug out, and you can easily fit 2 gallon jugs in here. And by the way, you can get a little bit more space if you take this removable basket that it comes with out. So we'll just put some more cans in here. You can see that without the basket, I could fit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this direction easily. With the basket, I slightly run out of space there. So as you can see, easily I can fit 5 in a row this way and still have a little bit of room to spare over here. And I can fit 3 across this way. And of course you can stack these two layers if you wanted to. So just a lot of room. And you can see there's a drain plug down here. So if you do happen to put some ice in here for some reason, or spill something, or get some liquid in here, something thaws out, you can drain it there out the bottom, no problem. And there's a LED that comes on here when you open the lid when you have it plugged in. I don't have it plugged in currently, so that's not coming on. So kind of handy that they put this up there about appropriate temperatures for specific applications. Pretty nice. Gives you, without having to hunt down the manual, you got a list of the error codes if you happen to run any of those. You can see that this lid is nice and sealed around the edge. Yeah, I'm just really impressed. I mean, this is the second ICECO fridge that I have reviewed, and I would say that this takes the build quality up another notch. Certainly the engineering flexibility. So they just did a really nice job on this. Something else I really like about this, so you do have a USB port down here. It's just a type A port. And then you've got your DC connector there that goes to your kind of a car plug. So you can power it, and it does operate off of 12 or 24 volts. And then this is interesting. This is like kind of a computer style AC cable connector right there. And what I like about that is there's no charge brick. It's already got an AC adapter integrated right in there. But let's say that this is not accessible for some reason. These are all on the ends with the wheels, the integrated wheels there. But let's say for some reason that that's not convenient to get to that plug on this particular end. Well, they got you covered, because if I go to the other side, they have got another one. So this is just DC only, not AC on this end. Yeah, so if you were in your car and the orientation worked out that it just was more convenient to plug on this side versus the other, they actually have the plug located on both ends. So very handy. And then notice the handle here. So it's got a big lift up handle. Now this one is kind of molded plastic. Nothing super special about that, and it does lay flat, kind of snaps into place. And then sort of the double handle. Now this is on the same on both sides. It's got this sort of textured, kind of knurled aluminum metal grip, and it's just very well made as compared to the typical molded plastic handles you normally see on these 12-volt refrigerators. So ICECO just did a really nice job with this JP40 Pro. All right, so I did just have a look on the other side there, and there is no spot for one of those expansion batteries that you can put on this to kind of run it with its own little battery system. So you'd have to connect it to a power station or your car or an AC power source of some kind. But there's also no app support for this, so you can't remote control it with an app. So they did just kind of give you exactly what you typically would need in a refrigerator, but in a very high quality version of it. So there's a reason they call it the Pro version of the JP40, because it is just built extremely well. And as you saw, it is insulated extremely well. It definitely holds its temperature about as probably better than any other refrigerator I've tested so far. All right, before I forget to mention it, in terms of dimensions, it is 29 inches across in this direction here, including the extra distance for the handles. It is 14 inches from edge to edge here, including this little kind of a bump out. So 14 inches across that way. And it is 18 inches high from floor to top. So that gives you an idea of the overall dimensions. Okay, so circling back now, let's talk about the kinds of things that you can run with the EB55 power station. So just to recap, the EB55's AC inverter can handle 700 watts of continuous output and a 1400 watt peak load. So that's going to determine what you can run with it. And from a battery capacity standpoint, it's got about 460 watt hours of actual usable capacity. The rated is a bit higher than that, but that will determine how long you can actually run those things. So real quick, let's talk about some of the common things you cannot run with the EB55. So a typical toaster needs about 1,000 watts to function properly. So toaster is going to trip the overload protection on the EB55. Another common one is a coffee maker. Turns out that heating water is a fairly energy intensive process, and so a typical coffee maker is going to require about 1,000 watts to function. And that actually also applies to K-Cup single serving brewers. In fact, the one that I have actually uses around 1,100 to maybe 1,200 watts for a short bit of time in the course of making that one cup of coffee. So that would also definitely trip the overload protection on this EB55. So what can the EB55 run? Well, as you saw earlier in the video, a 12-volt fridge is actually the perfect use case for this power station. It gives you well over 2 full days or even more of runtime. And if you were to add 200 watts of solar recharging to that, you can pretty much run a portable fridge like this with the EB55 indefinitely, especially something as efficient as this JP40 Pro. Now, one question I get fairly regularly, and that I wasn't in a very good position to answer until fairly recently, is can I run a CPAP machine on something like this? And if so, for how long? So the answer to that is yes, you can definitely run a CPAP machine. And I've got a newer AirSense 11 from ResMed, and it only consumes maybe an average of 30 watts per hour. So I can get about 15 hours of runtime. That's about approximately 2 nights of runtime on an EB55. Now, what about a full-size refrigerator? You can actually run a full-size fridge with an EB55, but depending on how efficient your fridge is, you might only get about 4 hours of runtime out of that. So it's not a great use case for that, but it does work in a pinch if you needed it to. You can actually run a typical internet router and modem for somewhere around 33 hours on a full charge with this. And you could run a large smart TV like this 65-inch Samsung for somewhere around 2.5 to 3 hours. And you can definitely run a desktop PC and an ultra-wide monitor off the EB55 for somewhere around 3 to 4 hours, depending, of course, on how intensive your application is. But keep in mind that if you might be well under 3 hours of runtime if you're running something like an extended gaming session with high-res graphics at high frame rates. Finally, back to kind of a more camping-centric application, you could also get away with running a low-powered small induction cooktop. Maybe something in that 600 watt range. I don't think they get much less than that, but you could run a 600 watt induction cooktop for maybe somewhere around 45 minutes of runtime. And then, of course, the EB55 is actually excellent for recharging all of your mobile devices like phones, tablets, laptops, cameras, drones, all that kind of stuff. All right, so I think that's about all the things that I've tested so far. If you've got some applications that I didn't mention that you'd like to know about, drop a question in the comments section below, and I'll try to get back to you on those. So yeah, the EB55 is still an excellent general purpose mid-range power station. And as you saw, this JP40 Pro is a very high quality, well-made portable fridge. And by the way, they do have a JP50 Pro as well that kind of offers the same functionality with all these great design features, but just a bit more capacity. So if you do find yourself in the market for a high quality portable fridge and you're looking for a high quality appropriately sized power station to run that fridge, I would say either or both of these products are excellent choices and they should be on your short list. And per usual, I've got links in the video description below if you want to go get some additional information on either one of these products. So hey, if you found any of this information useful at all, I'd really appreciate it if you can give me a thumbs up on the video. I got a bunch of reviews in the queue coming up over the next several months, so stay tuned for those if you're into this kind of thing. And anyway, thanks for watching, and I do hope you'll join me for the next one. Until then, have fun out there.